What's going on, you guys? Foster, and I'm back with another video. Today's video, I'll be doing a, talk about all the new runes, well, the rune system they brought out instead of the old runes and masteries, to give you guys my opinions, and also what I think it's good, and what I think some things might be used for, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, first you click on the collection, go to the runes, and then you click on create a new rune page. I mean, Riot gave you presets, but those presets are kinda so I advise you to create a new rune page, and I'll be going over it. You'll first see this. It doesn't really matter which one you click on, because in the thing you'll be able to do whatever. So let's just get into the first one, and let's start talking about it. Now, what I prefer doing is right here, click on the button below, because then it will open up all the options, and you can see everything easily. And then also click the show detailed description, so you can then hover over things and see in detail what every single rune is about. So, let's get into it with the first one. Press the attack. Press the attack. Hitting an enemy champion with 3 consecutive basic attacks deals a certain amount of adaptive damage and makes them more susceptible to damage. Like, it increases your damage source from 12% from all sources, which is really big. So, 12% damage increase after 3 hits, 3 basic attacks. It has to be basic attacks, so you gotta remember that. So, think champions with auto attack resets like Jax, Camille. All those types of champions proc this really fast, and if you can get that on an enemy, pretty much, you're gonna deal instant 12% increased damage, which is insane. Like, just think about it on Jax, for example. You auto-attack someone, you press W, instantly auto-attack again. Now, that's instantly press the attack right there, and then everything you do after that's just 12% damage increase. So you're gonna be, like, hurting people. Really hurting people. So that's how this is really used. Then we have Lethal Tempo. This is very good, because on champions like Kokma, for example, this increases your attack speed by a lot, and Kokma really needs that attack speed to get his W up, like his W auto attacks off faster, and then all the type of on-hit he has with that. So champions with on-hit effects, definitely Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo is pretty much only an AD carry viable keystone, or rune, or however you want to see it. I don't think it's used on many other champions, but any champion that really benefits from attack speed, Lethal Tempo can be very good on. Then we have Fleet Footwork. This is pretty much the Warlord's Bloodlust from last season. It gives you a good amount of extra healing as soon as you hit someone with an energized attack, and it also gives you a nice movement speed boost. So think this can be very useful for like Jhin or something like that. Then the other things you can pick in this, apart from the big ones, this is also secondary ones that you can pick in this side. So if you were to go for like one here, you can pick secondaries, and these are the secondaries you can pick right there. So the secondaries for this one are Overheal, which just gives you like pretty much a small Bloodthirster effect. You know, Bloodthirster overheals you a little bit, and this will just do the same thing. Like, you get a shield from extra healing. Then Triumph is pretty much like the, as soon as you take someone down, you get the 15% missing health restored. There was a mastery last season that did a similar thing, restored like 5% health and mana. It's pretty much this, but then you also get 25 extra gold, so you get a little bit more gold for each kill. And then we have Presence of Mind. 5 seconds after gaining a level or takedown, your mana your mana that you spent on that takedown within the 5 seconds is completely restored. This could be good on champions like Syndra, for example, that use that you're guaranteed to get pretty much the kill with 1 burst rotation, and that use quite a bit of mana to do it. So in those, for those types of champions that have that burst rotation and that use quite a bit of mana, it can be very useful to have this Presence of Mind. Then also you got to think about like item choices after that, and then Morellonomicon for those types of champions is pretty common, and that will restore a lot of your mana as well, and you don't really need this one in that situation. So for this one, in this row, probably the best one is Triumph in most situations, because as soon as you get the takedown, you get 15% of your missing health restored. Let's say the trade is close and you're like very low on like 50 or 100 HP. 15% of your missing health at that point is a lot of health to get back. It can save you in way more situations than any of the other ones. This seems the most useless to me, because if you like manage your mana well, then this should never really come into play that much. Unless like I'm missing some champions that use an insane amount of mana where it could actually be decent on, but as far as just right now, I don't think so. Now, then we of course have the next one. This is the Legend Runes. We have the Alacrity, pretty much gives increased attack speed. Then we have this, gives increased Tenacity, and then this gives you increased lifesteal. They are both, like, all 3 of them are used on specific champions in specific situations, and they are, like, these combo really well with AD carries, because a lot of AD carries want a lot of attack speed. So if you go like press the attack With like this right here on the Vayne, for example, you get that nice attack speed increases, which is really good. But then also, the increased lifesteal also works really well with AD carries. So you pretty much have the option if you want more attack speed or more lifesteal. Getting Bloodline is pretty much like getting a Vamp Scepter for free, as soon as you stack it up completely. And if you want to go for like the build of Infinity Edge into double crit items, so you have triple crit items, 80% crit on an AD carry, then getting that Bloodline will be actually very useful because you can get a free Vamp Scepter without biting it. So that's where this is used for. Now, this Tenacity one is very useful on certain tanks as like a secondary a secondary rune, because then, as I'll talk about in a little later, you have to resolve the resolve tree for tanks, and if you combine that with like a secondary on this one, and then maybe Last Stand or something, you can really, like, you cannot get CC'd as a tank. It's impossible, which I'll tell you about in a second. Now over to the last one in this one, Scoop the Grace, which is pretty much the execute one, the execute mastery from the last season. Escapes me what it was called. Executioners? No, I don't remember too well. But yeah, it's pretty much that, and it's just good to burst people down. So unlike a lot of burst champions, maybe Kha'Zix, Rengar, all that kind of stuff, you could pick this up as like a secondary tree type of rune to pick up and then just deal more damage. Now here, cut down, very, very good against tanks, very high health tanks as well. So if you're facing like a Mundo or like a Cho'Gath, then this is very much worth picking up for like 80 carries, because you're going to be able to strat a lot more of their HP really fast. You deal so much more damage. It's just overall very useful on in those fronts. And then Last Stand, if you get low, you deal a lot more damage, and this is very useful on champions that go like an item that's Death's Dance, for example, because you usually tend to get a little bit more low, but with Death's Dance, you're able to sustain a lot more health whilst you're in the fight. So if you get like below the 60% health mark, Last Stand will start to kick in, you'll start to increase damage, and as soon as you get lower, you will deal more damage, which means you will heal more. So that's like the one you could consider there. I personally like combinations of like the Bloodline with the Last Stand effect, because it gives you a lot of extra lifesteal. Unlike champions like Graves, for example, Graves Jungle, I tried this out in the combination with this, and then with the Death's Dance, you're pretty much never dying at that point, so you can go for like quick builds and then into a Death's Dance, and then at that point you can 1v1, 1v2, 1v3, and actually come out ahead, which is pretty crazy, because just the sheer amount of lifesteal extra, and then the damage increase you get as soon as you get lower. So it's pretty good. Now on to the next one. This is the Domination section. You have the Electrocute, which is pretty much the Thunderlords from last season. It just gives you a nice extra burst damage as soon as you hit someone with 3 separate attacks. Doesn't matter what type of attack it is, just has to be 3 separate things. So like, it can be like an auto attack and a spell, and then like another auto attack, or 3 spells or whatever. So this is Thunderlords. Everyone knows Thunderlords can be very useful. They did scale this up a little bit to deal more damage, so that's pretty good. On like Kha'Zix, Rengar, not Rek'Sai, Kha'Zix, Rengar, all those types of assassins. People that wants to one-shot, like mid laners, all that kind of stuff. It's just your old Thunderlords. Everyone knows Thunderlords. Then onto Predator. Predator is very, very good on junglers only, I think. I don't think Predator is going to be used on anyone else but junglers. Maybe support if you want to roam a little faster, but I'd imagine Predator to only be good on junglers. Predator pretty much just gives you a lot of extra movement speed when you use it. You have to channel it for like 1.5 seconds, and it lasts for 15 seconds, and you gain 45% movement speed, which is insane. Especially on Hecarim, for example, because you gain the 45% movement speed, but then you also gain damage with it. So if you combine like Predator with Ghost and then his Hecarim's E, you can literally just one-shot someone on level 3, which is insane. Or like, not one-shot, but you do like 80% of their health bar, and that's pretty much a guaranteed kill if you gank someone with that. So that's like a combination you could work on, but like also like Warwick, for example, if you have your Blood Sand on someone and then activate Predator as well, you start hunting them even faster, and you can run up to like top lane if you're bot lane with like 800 movement speed or some shit like that. It's pretty crazy. So this is very useful on junglers. You can use this to just get into a lane really fast early on, and then it will pretty much guarantee either a kill or a flash, so that's where this is really used for. And then the Dark Harvest is the rune that's really used to like scale up. So a lot of junglers that tend to go for Dark Harvest are the more late gamey type champions. Also works really well on like Kha'Zix and all that, because with Duskblade procs, this will give you a lot of damage more later in the game. But then on Kha'Zix you also have to consider that, do you want this to be a later game build, or do you actually want to deal more damage with like the Electrocute in the early game? Most of the time, Electrocute is better early mid game, and then Dark Harvest outscales from there. So it's literally whatever you want, really. Like Dark Harvest is just a very hard scaling one. Dark Harvest, you can use it by just stacking up, and then as soon as you hit a certain amount of stacks, after like 150 essence, it will, instead of lasting 20 seconds, it will last 300 seconds after collecting one. So then you'll deal more increased damage, and you can use it for fights more effectively. But collecting 150 soul essence takes a little while. Like, believe me, it takes a little while. So, because you only get 6 from a champion kill, 2 from a monster, a big monster, a large monster, so it has to be like the main thing in the camp. And then minions give you 4, but also like large minions. So it's like, I believe like caddy minions maybe give you only 4 soul essence, and that's about it. So it takes a while to stack it up, but it's very, very good in the later stages of the game. So if you were playing like more late game type champions, late game type junglers that really want to scale, want to farm a little bit more, then Dark Harvest is definitely better than Electrocute. If you want to gank a little bit more, deal a little bit more damage in the early mid game, then the Electrocute will trump that. Then over onto this. This is the next one. Cheap Shot. It gives you a little bit of extra true damage as soon as you movement impair someone, which, I mean, not that effective in my opinion. I think this is a pretty bad choice in most situations, because it's only 12 to 30 bonus true damage. Sure, it will deal a good amount of damage, but then why would you take Cheap Shot? I mean, I guess Cheap Shot is a valuable option if you do not have the option, like the option of a dash or a blink or anything like that, that the sudden impact gives you, because the 10 lethality or 8 magic penetration for that, like, it's just way better. It gives you overall more damage. Lethality works in a way that reduces their armor, and armor doesn't reduce a flat amount of damage, it reduces a percentage damage. So let's say, I don't know exact math, but let's say 30 armor reduces like 25% damage of the like 25% of incoming physical damage, and then lethality will lower that, and then it goes down by a percentage instead of a flat amount. So instead of doing like 25% reduced damage, you do 20% reduced damage, which is a 5% damage difference, and over like 1,000 damage, that's gonna be a massive difference. So sudden impact on champions have like any type of stealth, exiting, dash, leap, blink, or teleport, anything like that. It's really good on those champions. So also remember that any type of dash, like Rengar's Q counts as a dash. So there's a lot of champions that will just proc it without you even realizing that's actually a dash, you know? So that's definitely a viable one. Out of these, I think Taste of Blood is pretty much the least effective, and I probably wouldn't pick it on any champion because the healing of this doesn't seem that good, and also this is pretty much instantly countered out by any type of others, like healing or like lifesteal or anything like that, so not that great. Out of these three, I think Sudden Impact is most definitely the best choice, because most champions will be able to like have a dash, leap, or blink or anything like that. Most champions have it, and then you can just make use of it that way. Or most assassins, really. Like most people that use this tree will have something for this, so that's very, very good. Now onto this Zombie Ward. After killing a ward, a friendly zombie ward is raised into place. Additionally, when wards expire, they reanimate as zombie wards. This is a very good rune. I would definitely pick this up on a lot of like junglers, but not just junglers, like supports as a secondary thing. It's insane, because you get a lot of extra wards out of this, and a lot of vision control is very important, so this is definitely a viable choice. I also have the Ghost Borrow, that's pretty much, I mean, it's not as good as this one, but it will help you in the early stages of the game, when you can just put this in a brush somewhere, and then you will have some vision control over your own jungle. And then you have to make sure that you don't walk in, like that you keep it in that brush specifically, so you can guard out like one of your jungle interests, for example, or just ward for yourself as a laner to make sure that you don't get ganked or something like that. That's really what this is used for. But I would say Zombie Ward's probably the best out of these three. I mean, Eyeball Collections give you, on average, about 30 extra attack damage, 30 extra ability power-ish in a game. Really, it's... from what I've seen so far from the numbers and that, I mean, it's nice, of course, to have that little bit, but it doesn't really trump the zombie ward that much, because the vision control is just insane out of this one. Now moving on, We have the Reminisce Hunter, which is obviously very good on champions that deal damage with their abilities. This can be a very good secondary on Syndra, for example, because as soon as you ult someone with an ability, like that ultimate counts as an ability, so you will heal 15%, I believe it is, of the damage dealt with your ultimate, and you literally just one-shot someone, so you can heal like 200-300 HP back, maybe, from just insta-giving someone. That's pretty good. That's really nice. That's the sustain you really want to have on like a mage like Syndra, for example. But it's also very good on champions like Rengar, Kha'Zix, because it counts with their Q abilities, and yeah, it seems the most useful out of these, unless you're a Hecarim, of course, then this definitely is very useful to have that extra movement speed. But so far, this one, Ingenious Hunter, I believe it's called, doesn't seem that effective unless you use a lot of active items, like, I don't know, even just champions that use active items. If you build those, then this is definitely the one you probably want to go with, but overall, I'd say Reminisce Hunter is the best, and Reminisce Hunter is also really good as like a secondary pick. So this Domination, the secondary tree, really looks like just this, straight up. Like, you can go, like, you can pick this up, and then this is a very viable damage-heavy secondary, but then also you can go for, like, a secondary like this, which gives you more ward control, and then also gives you this spell healing. As, like, a mid laner, for example, you can pull this off really easily. So, like, those are the most viable, really, seconds, but yeah, this Reminisce Hunter is pretty much the best choice out of this one, as like a secondary and this one. So if you're not going for the Domination tree, any of these three, then having those as secondaries is very, very viable. Now, on to this one. This is Summon Array, which pretty much just sends a little thingy out that damages enemies a little bit more, shields allies. You cannot send this out constantly. You have to wait for it to return before it's used again. It is pretty viable, and if you're like close range, and then you hit someone with a spell, like Riven, for example, with her Qs, this could be a very interesting thing, because as soon as Riven hits someone, it pretty much instantly bounces between you, because you're that close, so it's like goes and then goes back, and you can use it again. So I think you can get a good amount of damage out of it with that, but I haven't really tested it that much, but that's just what I think it does right now, and I think it could be a very interesting thing to look out for, because it seems pretty good. I have not seen it too much, but yeah. Now, this one I've seen a lot on a lot of champions. Malzahar, for example, easily procs this. Like, if you're playing a mage, then Arcane Comet is pretty much, like, any type of pokey mage, then Arcane Comet is pretty much the one you want to go for. I've seen it so much on just mages in general, like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you, man. This seems like the best one to go for on a mage most of the time. Either that one or maybe the Electrocute one, but yeah. It damaging an enemy champion with an ability, hurls a comet at their location, and then, if it's on cooldown, reduces the remaining cooldown of it. But it just gives you a nice base amount of damage, and it scales pretty well with AP and bonus AD. Cooldown's not that high. It goes from 20 down to 8, so you can use it pretty often. Now, Phase Rush is literally just Storm Raiders from the last Masteries. It's Storm Raiders. It's an interesting idea, because it works, for example, really well on champions like Echo, that you can just go in completely and then easily proc 3 attacks or 3 separate abilities or anything like that, get the movement speed boost and run out. But right now, for example, this on like a Kha'Zix or Graves, what you used to use it on, like Storm Raiders used to be very good on Kha'Zix as well as Graves, is not as viable anymore, because like the rest of these from this tree, if you want to go for this one, isn't that great. So it's kind of only a thing now for like mages. So like mages that want to go in and instantly get out again, then this could be a good thing. But apart from that, I don't see this to be that viable on like assassins anymore, like Kha'Zix or Graves. Yeah. Even though I might be wrong. I might have to test this a little bit more. That's so far what I've noticed. Then a Nullifying Orb is pretty much just a small Hex Drinker for the early game. It gives you like a little bit of defensive stats. Could be very viable as like a secondary pickup on certain champions. If you want to be a little bit more tanky early game against like magic damage, so like any type of tanky stuff, you can combine it with the main resolve and then go into a secondary with this. It's a viable choice. And then mana flow band, every 60 seconds you use the ability. It pretty much just restores a lot of your mana, and it can give you a lot of mana back if you use a lot of mana in lane, for example. Champions that use a lot of mana in lane to just get control and need to farm like that, this can be very useful on. Gotta think of champions like Xerath, for example. You can easily use this and combine with the, like your passive, I believe it is, the auto attack that gives you mana back. If you use this band with that in combination, you can sustain your mana bar up a lot more, and then you can keep ranged on the, like you can keep at a distance of the enemy, and keep clearing the wave pretty easily by just using your abilities constantly. You don't have to rely as much on blue buff as if you pick this up, because 8% of your missing mana, or energy for that matter, is a lot to get back every 60 seconds. If you use your mana correctly, if you manage it correctly, then it can be very useful. Also, later in the game, obviously, this can be very useful as well. If your mana pool is a bit bigger and then in team fights, you need to get that extra mana back really fast and mana flow band. So if you have a mana type champion, then that's a very good option. Now, the ultimate head is a very, very good secondary in most situations from what I've looked at so far. If you play champions that rely on their ultimate a lot, like Rengar, for example, that just needs his ultimate to be in fights, then the ultimate head is very good on those champions. Your ultimate cooldown is reduced by 5%, and each time you cast your ultimate, it cooldown further reduces by 2%, stacks up to 5 times. So pretty much, your ult cooldown is reduced by 15%. Like on a Rengar, for example, if you have 15% more CDR on your ultimate, and also have 40% base CDR, or 45 if you want to overcap it, but if you have that extra CDR, your ult late game is gonna have like, I don't remember exactly what it was, like 35 seconds cooldown or some shit like that. That's pretty crazy. Because it just matters a lot on those champions that need their ultimates. So yeah, that's for those. This can be a very good secondary, but it can also be used if you play like Karthus, for example. I don't know, have more CDR on that insanely long cooldown ultimate, then could be also very beneficial. So ult champions, definitely this is something you want to look for, either as a main or as a secondary thing. Then Transcendence is just 10 flat CDR as soon as you hit level 10. It's pretty straightforward. And then if you overcap your CDR, then it's gonna turn, like every single percent of CDR is gonna turn into either 1.2 attack damage or 2 ability power. Straightforward as it gets. So if you want to use like this on Rengar, for example, if you want to combine like the ultimate head with the Transcendence, you can get 10% at level 10, and then also get the CDR on your ultimate, which then makes you have way more CDR on that, and you'll have it up more often, obviously. Then Celerity, just base movement speed increase. It's very good on just like any type of jungler, really, because having more movement speed is pretty much gonna turn into having more roam potential and gank potential. You're gonna get that faster, you're gonna get through your jungle camps faster, all that. This is just straight out more movement speed, and then also movement speed gives you a little bit more damage. So, straight up, pretty good. I would definitely get this on Hecarim, for example, because this is really good on Hecarim. But yeah, it can be a very good secondary. And the primary, not too sure, but yeah. Absolute Focus, while above 70% health, gain an adaptive bonus up to 24 attack damage or 40 ability power based on level. It's just more damage if you're a high HP. So if you're like a pretty safe champion that pokes a lot, like Xerath, for example, you can easily pick this up. Out of these three, I definitely pick this on Xerath, because you can stay on the distance and get like 40 extra ability power late game. Pretty solid. And then if you combine that with this one, for example, the Gathering Storm, that just gives you more stats the later the game goes on. Every 10 minutes you get AP and AD, and as you can see, this ramps up really fast, and at 60 minutes, if the game goes that long, and if you have this, you're pretty much guaranteed to win at that point, because 168 AP extra at 60 minutes from just this is crazy good. Like, you're gonna have 1200 AP, for example, on like a full build mage with Death Cap. You're gonna have like 1200, 1300 AP with this. This is crazy. It just goes on and it ramps up even more. So if you get long games, then, or if you go for like late game type of champions, then this is definitely something you want to look out for. Then Water Walking. If you're in the river, you gain extra movement speed and extra damage, straight up. And Scorch just helps you with poking in lane, really. This is very useful if you want to have some more poke damage in lane. Your next ability hits set champions on fire. Your next ability that hits set champions on fire, dealing 30 to 60 bonus magic damage based on level after 1 second. So poke champions, again like Xerath, for example, in lane, you can just keep using your Q, land that, and then this is gonna deal even more damage. It's just a straight damage increase, 20 seconds cooldown, which is not that bad, honestly. So you can easily use this to poke, but yeah, it just completely depends, of course. Can be a very viable secondary pick as well if you want to get some lane dominance going on, like poke champions or anything like that, and you want to go for like an electrocute or anything else, really. So yeah, onto the resolve tree. We first off have Grasp of the Undying. It's very similar to last season's Grasp of the Undying, but this one will now permanently increase your health every time you do it. I mean, it's just straight up, it's the same type of deal, but now it permanently increases your health as well, which is very nice, because if you use this on, like, I don't know, Cho'Gath, for example, you can get your health going up even more. You can just get so much out of that. It's pretty crazy as just one rune. I think in like an average game, you should be able to get, I'd say it's 50 to 100 hits with the Grasp of the Undying pretty consistently. So 50 to 100 times 5 in extra health is not bad at all. Now onto the Aftershock. After immobilizing an enemy champion, increase your armor magic resist by 20 plus 30% for 2.5 seconds. Then explode, dealing damage. This is literally just good on any type of champion that just does a lot of CC work. Gotta think Leona support. I don't know, Rammus jungle. Anything really CC heavy. This is gonna be very, very useful because you gain that extra armor and magic resist. It's gonna make you a lot more tanky. You can engage much easier. That's really what this one is used for. Now I have Guardian. This is the one I see mostly on supports like Janna, Lulu, all those types of champions, because guard allies with 175 units off you, and allies you target with spells for 2.5 seconds whilst guarding. If you or the ally take damage, both of you gain a shield and are hasted for 1.5 seconds, and then haste is plus 20% movement speed. So if you have a combination of like Kog'Maw Lulu and Lulu has Guardian, then Kog'Maw is gonna get way more movement speed and chase people down, which is very, very scary. So on those types of champions, Guardian, very, very effective. Then, as a secondary, this one is pretty crazy. Because you can pick up this one with the other three, and if you have this as a primary, for example, and then you pick the Tenacity here, and then also get the Tenacity on the secondary, which will pretty much look like this. Like, you can go for any one of those. And then you pick this up with, I don't know, this one maybe, who cares? And then, this doesn't matter, but you can go here then, and then pick up the Tenacity here as well. So if any of your summoners are on cooldown, you get more Tenacity out of them. But this combination of Tenacity and with like Mercury threats just pretty much means that you cannot get CC'd for long. You're gonna get CC'd for like a second at most or some shit like that. It's really insane. So if you want to pull this off on certain champions and go for like press the attack, like 80 carries with press the attack or lethal tempo for that matter, you can pull this off and then go for like double Tenacity in like a way like this, and then pick up like, I mean, anything else really. What's the best one at this point? I'd say Overgrowth, probably. Why not? Permanently gain 2.5% maximum health for every 8 months. Like, that's a good amount of extra health you can get out of it. I mean, anything really. But if you can pick, this is the main thing. If you can pick this up in combination with this and a Mercury threats as well. So if you're facing like a heavy CC comp, you're pretty much not going to get CC'd, which is a really, really insane combination. I've tried this a couple times myself, and you have so much Tenacity. Like, you just walk into a Vigar wall, and before the W even comes down, you're already out of it. Which is, like, that's actually pretty stupid into those types of teams. So if you're facing, like, Fiddlesticks, all that kind of stuff, you can easily do that, and you can get away with a lot of stuff. So yeah, I really like this one. Then Demolish, charge up a powerful attack against towers. So if you're, like, split pushing a lot, if you're like a Shen, if you're like a Nasus, obviously, Demolish is just going to be very good on that. You can instantly just burst turrets down. It does a lot of damage to turrets. Plus 30% of your max health is crazy. If you're playing like Cho'Gath, for example, and you have like 10k max health, Jesus, dude. This turret is just gone. Like, it's insane. So if you play like tanks, I want to split push a little bit more, pick up Demolish. Very, very good. Font of Life, impairing movement of an enemy, marks them for 4 seconds. Allied champions who attack marked targets heal for percentage of your max health. So you can pick this up on supports like Leona or something to give your AD carry extra like healing. Not bad at all. You can definitely make use of that. Now Iron Skin is just straight basic armor increase. This is a basic magic resist increase. Nothing really too impressive about those. And then conditioning gives you armor magic resist, and then also scaling armor magic resist. So I mean, it's a very nice one to pick up to have a little bit more armor magic resist, like after 10 minutes, just straight up, here, have some armor magic resist. It can be very useful. I'd probably pick the conditioning one over either of these two, because this just gives you overall more, stat-wise. Even though for the first 10 minutes of the game you won't have anything out of this, but after that this is going to be more useful. So I think this one would be the best one to look out for. And yeah. Now, Overgrowth, permanently increasing your max health by 2.5%, by 0.5%, 2.5 be insane, for every 8 monsters or enemy minions that die near you. This can be very good on junglers, for example, as a secondary, or a primary if you go for like an Aftershock jungler, because the Croc Camp on its own has a lot of monsters in it, so you can easily get like 2.5% max health. I said it again, 0.2% max health, if you just clear that camp. It's pretty quick, so you can just get away with that really easily. And then Revitalize, just heals and shields are stronger, so this is very good on like supports, like Janna and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, not much to say about that. So if you're like on a low health, you use Janna shield, then this can be very good. So this is gonna be like the Guardian with like this into maybe Vault of Life or anything like that. Can be very good on those champions. And second win after taking damage from an enemy champion, heal up 4% of your missing health, plus 6 over 10 seconds. I mean, it's just basic sustain, really. You can use this to survive laning phase a lot. If you're against like a poke champion, like if you're a melee champion in top lane, for example, against like a Gnar, then this is going to be a very useful thing to pick up, because you're going to be able to sustain a lot more, and then you're going to be a little bit more healthy against him in lane poking. And then on to the last one, we have the Unsealed Spellbook, which pretty much just allows you to change your summoner spell. You cannot have the same summoner spell twice and all that kind of stuff. Also, getting the Smite this way won't allow you to buy Smite items. It's just, you can switch your summoner spells. I don't think it's that useful personally, but I mean, maybe some people might find a really good use out of this, but yeah. Honestly, if you pick the summoner spells before the game, you're not really changing them. Like, sure, as a top player, you could go like, oh, I'm gonna go this one, but then missing out on any other of those keystones is pretty big, so I don't think this is gonna be used very much. Like Glacial Augment, basic attack and champion close them for 2 seconds. That's pretty much all it does. I don't see it being that useful. I don't think a lot of champions would pick this up, really. Maybe if they like buff this, because I think it's gonna need a little buff. But yeah, I don't think it's that useful. Now, Kleptomancy is very good on certain champions, like Ezreal, for example. You can get so much extra gold out of this. Like, an average game, you're able to get like 1,000 to 1,500 extra gold out of just this, if you use it properly. That's insane. Like, having that on like a hard carry scaling champion, Kleptomancy will just ramp up their build so much faster, and then you can just get so much out of it, you know? And then Hextech Flat. I mean, this is just a straight flash out of this. I mean, I don't see it being that useful, but maybe some champions will use it. You can get like a nice extra blink. Biscuit Delivery. Now, this one's interesting, because this one actually is very nice if you're into going into an unfavorable lane. So let's say, I don't know, again, the earlier example, if you're a melee top laner into like a Gnar top lane, you can have the Biscuit Delivery as like a secondary mainly, and then you can just have that Biscuit come in every time, and you can easily get through laning phase this way. It won't be that necessary, I don't think. You probably can get away with the just the other one, this one right here, to sustain yourself, but if you really have a pain in the ass champion against you that you just cannot face, a lot of people like Teemo early on or some shit like that, this can be very useful to help you through it, and that's probably where this is really going to be used for. Now, perfect timing. I mean, you start the game with a stopwatch that just gives you a little bit of, it's whatever, but the main thing about this is reduces the cooldown of Zhonya's Hourglass, Guardian Angel, and Gargoyle Stoneplate by 15%. Could be very useful on certain champions, like a secondary maybe, but I wouldn't see people picking this up as a primary, really. Yeah, as like a primary tree, I don't think these combine very well with this, so as like a secondary, I can see this work, but yeah. Now, magical footwear, you pretty much get free boots after 10 minutes. You cannot buy boots before, but you can you get them for free, so it's like 300 gold that you get for free, and then also the upgrade costs 50 less, which is then gonna turn into 350 gold that you just get for free whilst buying your tier 2 boots. And also you gain 10 movement speed extra out of your boots, which is not bad. So this can definitely be used if you wanna say fuck it to my early game on top lane, for example, and you, like, if you're playing such a champion, you can buy this, or you can get this with a combination of like Celestial Body. Just play it chill in the early game, get free boots, get free, and then ramp up a little bit faster that way. Wouldn't be bad. Futures Market. Now, this one, you can get into debt on the store. Honestly, don't think it's that useful. Personally, I haven't seen it used much. Out of these, I'd probably go with maybe this one over the Futures Market if you're gonna have to pick anything. But, I mean, this could be useful on maybe supports early game or something, if they want to get an item faster, or I don't know, man. I don't see it being that useful of a choice, really. It doesn't really impact, like the amount of gold you can get out of it doesn't really impact that much. So, kinda, I don't know about this one. We'll see in the future. Obviously, we're only a few days in now. A minion dematerializer, Jesus Christ. Start the game with 6 minion dematerializers that kill and absorb lane minion instantly. Minion dematerializers are on cooldown for the first 155 seconds of the game. Absorbing a minion increases your damage by 4% against that minion. Now this is really, you can use this on like a support only, I think. You can use it as like a secondary slot or even a main if you're going for any of these ones. But you can easily use this to instantly kill minions really early on and then press level advantage. So you can get like, I mean, it's disabled for the first however many seconds of the game, but after that you can press some level advantage, maybe the level 3 advantage. I'm not sure when it spikes, but you might be able to get a level 3 advantage and then just all in people. So level 2 against level 3. I don't think you can do the level 1, level 2 thing, because it's on cooldown too long, but for the level 2, level 3 you could probably get it done. Maybe like the level 5, level 6 spike as well, just instantly one-shot the like, just get the wave gone and then, yeah. I think that could be a viable strategy with this one, maybe, but that's the only thing I see it used for right now. Then Comic Insight, just straight CDR across the board for everything. Very good for certain champions. You can overcap CDR on like Riven Ultimate, maybe, if you want to go for it like as a secondary. On Rengar, you could use this, but I don't think it's that viable. And like anything that really that needs that cooldown reduction, very nice. As probably maybe a secondary, really. This could be a viable thing for a little bit of scaling champions, and then combine it with like the Biscuit Delivery system or something as like a secondary pickup, or Comic Insight with like the boots thing on like a Nasus maybe. You can make that work. Just straight CDR is never bad. Approach velocity, gain 10% movement speed towards nearby allied champions that are move impaired. I mean, it's very nice. 10% extra movement speed towards those, or like enemy champions that use slow. If you're playing a support and have 10% extra movement speed towards like your team, that's pretty damn solid. If you slow people and you have 10% movement speed towards them, also pretty damn solid. So I'd say this is a good secondary thing to pick up. It's 1,000 range, so it's not that short. You can definitely make this work on certain builds. And then Celestial Body permanently increases your health by 100, which is quite a good amount, but then also reduces like 10% damage to champions and monsters until 10 minutes. So you can use this as like a trade-off. I'm gonna be like, alright, I just have a little bit more health to survive my laning phase. If you're against like an unfavorable matchup again, you can use this in combination with like the Biscuit, get through the laning phase and have that 100 extra health, and then also you survive the laning phase pretty much. So yeah, that is pretty much the rune system. If you have any questions or like specific champion questions, I guess, for what would work well, I think I explained it pretty much the best I could. I know it's a long video, guys. It's like nearly 40 minutes now, Jesus Christ, but I had to like cover it as best I can, give my opinions on everything. Like, it's a very new system, and for people that didn't really understand it so far, I hope this cleared up a lot of things. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, please hit the like button below and subscribe for more. See you guys in the next video. Bye!